Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Ugo Nkwocha, and as you may know, I recently relocated to Canada from Nigeria just about 6 months ago with my wife and my 3 kids, and we've been having a beautiful time here in Canada. And my YouTube channel, which I started just a few weeks back, is all about sharing the process, how we moved, what we are going through, the wins, the failures, the struggles, everything about it. That's what we're going to be sharing on this channel so that we can help those that want to come on the same journey as we have come. So that's the intention of this YouTube channel, our journey of being new migrants in Canada, everything about it. So if you're an old subscriber, welcome back, and if you're a new subscriber, thank you for watching this video. I hope you find something in it that catches your attention, and if what I've spoken about is something you are interested in, you are in the right place. I promise you it's going to be fun, it's going to be engaging, it's going to be valuable to you. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the express entry route. Permit me, I have a list in front of me so that I don't forget anything. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how we got our permanent resident through the express entry process, step by step, and what you need to do if you also want to get permanent resident, the step-by-step process. All right. Note, I am not a registered Canadian immigration consultant. I'm just sharing from my experience. These things are available online, but people find it hard to piece together all these things. That's why it helps if someone that has gone through the process is able to put these things together to guide others. And again, I am just sharing from experience. I am not a registered Canadian immigration consultant. I just thought I should put that out there. All right. So what is express entry and how does it work? Okay. Canada uses a points-based immigration system called express entry. With the express entry, you create a profile which then adds you into what they call a pool. A pool consists of people from different countries and backgrounds all over the world who are desiring to get permanent residence in Canada. So they all create a profile, an express entry profile, and they join the pool. I think every 2 weeks or thereabout. Sometimes it's not consistent, but from time to time, Canada will do a draw. So from time to time, they will set that score and say anybody that has scored, let's say the score is 480 for this week. The score does not remain constant. It changes all the time. So you can say that, okay, the score for this draw is 485, 490, and everybody or anybody who has at least 490, if that's the score and above, will now be invited. They'll be given an ITA, that is what we call invitation to apply. They'll be given an ITA to now apply for permanent residency. To qualify to apply for permanent residence, you must have a CRS score that is at least the CRS cutoff score or higher. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so when you create your express entry profile based on things like your education, your age, your work experience, all those things will give you different points. The overall total point is 1,200 points. All right, but each time you add something like your IELTS exams or your language test, whether it's IELTS for English or TCF/TEF for French, all those are exams that you can write, and each of those results will give you a particular score which you add up or stack up to make your total score. So everybody has their own individual score. Somebody, after adding up all of his score, we see that he lands at, or she lands at, a total of 440. All right. And when they do a draw, if they do a draw of 490, you that scored 440, you don't meet up that score, you will not be invited to apply. So you have to start looking for ways to improve your score and to increase your score, so that whenever a draw happens, you will be able to meet up with that minimum score and you will now get invited. This is where the hard work, lies. So this first step you must take, step number one, is to check your eligibility. Before you start asking, oh, help me to come to Canada and all that, you must check if you are even eligible in the first place for express entry. And there's a tool you can use for that. It's free, it's online. You're going to use the IRCC. IRCC stands for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. So this is the Canadian government department that is responsible for immigration, for refugees and for citizenship. Okay, they are the ones that process the applications for everything that has to do with immigration and all that. So they have a tool that's called Come to Canada tool. So if you just go to Google and just type Come to Canada tool, the first link you see there, you are going to be able to use it to check if you are eligible. Before you waste your time, waste your money and all that, start writing exams, just check if you are eligible. I'm going to put the name of that tool here so that you can see it. It's the Come to Canada tool. And when you open up that tool, it's going to ask you for different requirements, things like your work experience, your language test results, that is IELTS general, or CELPIP, that's for English, then TEF or TCF for French. Okay, then it's going to check your education credentials, which is a minimum of high school or secondary school. But with education now, the higher the degree, the more points you get. That means someone that has a first degree or a bachelor's degree will have more points, more CRS points for education than someone that just has a secondary school result. Someone that has a master's degree will have more points than someone that has just a bachelor's degree. Someone that has a PhD will have more points than someone that has a master's degree. So the higher your educational qualification, the more points, the more CRS points you get under education. All right. Then also, they want to also check your language results. I talked about language results before, but let me just add something about language results. The higher you score in your language test, the more points you get in your CRS score. Okay, everything is about points. Okay, you want to stack up as many points as you can. Right? It's not easy to get those points. So someone that scored a band 9 in IELTS will have more points than someone that scored a band 6 or a band 7. I think the minimum to even be eligible is a band 7. A band 7, all right? But I would confirm that. So your goal is to score the highest possible band that you can when writing your IELTS, all right, or your CELPIP, or for French, TEF and or TCF. Okay, then age also determines the number of points you get under the age factor. Younger people get more points than older people. The truth is that Canada wants young, agile people, to come into the country, to work, to pay tax, to help improve their economy. They are not doing this just as a charity, case, or because they just want to invite people. No, there is a reason why they are inviting people to their country, and they want younger people that have more years to work. So anybody under age 30, all right, gets the full marks for age. Then as you grow older, once you cross 30, I think once you cross 30, every year that goes by that you're in the pool, you lose five points for age. Okay, so the younger you are, the better. Okay, but that doesn't mean that older people that are in their 40s or in their 50s cannot, get permanent residence. There are ways around this, all right, but it is just the truth. You may have to do other things. You may have to look for other ways to get points. But once it comes to age, of course, you cannot falsify your age. They would know. In fact, you shouldn't even falsify anything at all. All right. So, and there are other factors that also help to add, or increase your CRS score, your comprehensive ranking score. So for people that have a sibling, whether if you are a married person, whether you or your spouse, if you have a sibling that is either a permanent resident or a citizen in Canada, it gives you extra 15 points that you can add to your total, CRS score. All right. So, there are a couple other things. So the very first thing you want to do is to check your eligibility. Step 1, check your eligibility. Answer the questions on that website. With that, come to Canada to answer the questions. At the end of the day, it will tell you if you are eligible to apply for express entry or not. Then, of course, you now need to, if you are now eligible, this step 2 is to get your required documents ready. So number 1 is your language test results. I mentioned that Canada is a bilingual country. They speak both English and French. Some provinces like Quebec are primarily French speaking. There are other provinces as well where it's a mix of both. All right, so you can use either English test results or French language test results, or you can even combine both of them to get more points. Okay, so if you can speak English, of course, most of us are English speaking, but if you can speak French, or if you can learn to speak French and write the TEF, TCF exam, then it can give you an additional 50 points, which is massive. This was what my family and I did. My wife went to study French for almost 1 year, about 9 months, almost 1 year. And she wrote the TCF Canada exam and she passed it, and that gave us additional 50 points, which we added to our CRS score. I also have a brother that is a citizen in Canada that added an additional 15 points to us. I have a master's degree that added points to us. My wife has just a bachelor's degree. So husband and wife will be bringing all their documents, all their qualifications. The husband, if you are a family, if you're married, of course, you have to do this together with your spouse. If you're married, you as maybe the man will write the language test. Your wife will write the language test, and all of that will serve to add points to your total CRS score, because you guys will have to create just one express entry profile. Okay, so I hope so far it's making sense. If you're getting value from this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the notification bell so that each time I create a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. Let's grow this channel so that more people can gain from the experience that I'm going to be sharing going on. Okay, so your language tests are the first documents you must provide. You must get ready So that means you have to write the exams or prepare to write them. For some people, it may take them a few weeks or a few months to prepare for IELTS. If you need to go and learn French, it may take you 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, depending, to go and get ready to write. These exams are pretty expensive now, so it's not something that you want to write over and over again. You want to try your best to get it in one shot or in as few shots as you can, because if you write an exam and you don't get the particular score that you want to give you the particular points that you need, you may need to rewrite it again. So in your best interest, go in prepared, study hard, go in prepared to write this exam so you can get the maximum points for your language test. And again, it's worth noting that both of these exams, whether the English ones, that is IELTS or CELPIP, and the French ones, TEF or TCF, they all have expiry dates, right? You cannot just write them and abandon them there. They have a 2-year validity period. So if you write the exam in October of 2025, for example, that particular result will be valid until October of 2027, right? And after that, you cannot use that result again. You will need to write the exam again, right? It's that serious. So that means you have to plan everything so that you can gather all your requirements at the same time, so that once you create your express entry profile, you have everything fresh. Your passport is ready, fresh, with enough time on it. Your French results, your English results, they are all fresh with enough time on it. You understand? So that you don't get to that point and you are using a result that is almost expired. All right, so the next thing that you need to get ready is your educational credential assessment. So this is now your degree, your highest degree for both you and your spouse. If you want to use, if you're going to be doing this with your spouse, if you are married, your highest degree. So you have to get your degree certificates assessed, usually by an organization like WES, right? I think it's World Education Services. They are based in Canada. So what this is you would have to go to the university where you graduated from and get them to send a copy of your transcript directly to WES. You cannot send it by yourself. WES will not accept it. So most universities already know how this works. So if you go to the exams and records department of your university, whether you schooled in Nigeria or you schooled abroad, wherever, so long as that result is not a Canadian result, it needs to be assessed to know how does it rank compared to its Canadian equivalent, something like that, right? So for us, my wife schooled at the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria. I did my master's at the University of Portsmouth in England. So I applied to the University of Portsmouth and paid for them to send my master's degree transcript to WES. All right. My wife also did the same thing. She went to the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria and applied and paid for her transcript to be sent to WES. All right. So depending on your school, some schools can process these things pretty fast. So your school. So these are things that you have to put in mind. How fast does your school process things like this? For some schools it take weeks, or for some schools it could be months. So you have to be pretty, you have to plan these things properly so that you take into account all these things. So I would say, while you're preparing for your IELTS or your French exams, start processing your WES. and your WES evaluation is valid for 5 years. So that you see that one has a lot more time, but it's not really in your power. It all depends on your school. If you went to a school that does things fast, they'll do it fast for you. So while you're preparing for your IELTS or your TCF, start processing your ECA, that is your educational credential assessment. Start that process, and you can use WES, ICAS, CS, IQAS, again, depending if you're like a medical person or you're in the medical field. They have the different bodies that are used to assess their credentials, but generally for most degrees, for most normal degrees, it is WES. We use the WES. You will also pay WES for these as well. So I'm going to put up the WES website link on the screen so that you can see it, and you can go there and see the current price that they charge. Okay, then of course you need to have a passport. Your passport, it should have at least 6 months validity on it by the time you are creating your express entry profile. So if your passport is about to expire or you never had one, you should go and get one or renew it. Then because you are applying under the express entry federal skilled workers program, where Canada is inviting people that have skills, right? Skills in different areas, skills in engineering, as a teacher, as a, in different areas, right? You need to show that you really have work experience, okay? So you have to get your job offer letter from your employer or a job reference letter from your employer showing the kind of job responsibilities that you had with them. Okay, so you need a minimum of 1 year working experience in that field. Okay, so let's say for example you claim that you are a computer programmer. You need to show that you have work experience, minimum of 1 year work experience as a computer programmer. And Canada has this thing called NOC code, all right? NOC stands for National Occupational Classification, all right? So it's a code which they use to categorize all occupations to provide standardized information about jobs, such as the duties, the skill requirements, and the necessary education. So every job has its NOC code, right? If you're a computer programmer, there's an NOC code for that role. If you're a medical doctor, there's an NOC code for a medical doctor. So most jobs that you can think of have an NOC code attached to them. And when you're filling out your express entry profile, you will be required to provide the NOC code for the job you are claiming experience from. So you can go to the NOC page on the Canada website and find out the code that will match, all right, the job that you are claiming experience for. So and when you see that NOC code for that job, to show you the different job tasks and everything, the duties that particular job is expected to have been doing. So what this means is that when you are getting a job reference letter from your employer will state not just the name of the job now or the role, but the duties that you have been performing under that role. So this is what IRCC will use to match you, to say, okay, yes, you claim that you are a computer programmer with this particular NOC code, and when we compare it with the expected job duties and responsibilities of a computer programmer, your job role does match this thing, and it needs to match at least to a reasonable degree. It may not be 100%. In fact, it may not be possible to be 100%, but it should match to a reasonable degree, at least 80% of what you have been doing under that job should match with the expected job responsibilities of that NOC code. I hope this makes some sense. So you will need to speak to your employer to provide you with work experience letter or job reference letter to prove that you indeed have experience in this job and you've worked here for up to 1 year and all that. You can of course, if you have experience for 2 years, the more experience you have, the more points you get. But I think it's capped at 3 years. So whether from 3 years and above, even if you have 20 years experience, they will still give you the same point as someone that has 3 years experience. But someone that has 3 years experience has more points than someone that has 1 year experience, right? So the maximum is at least three. It's at most 3 years. It can be more. Okay. So you need that. Then, of course, to prove your job experience and your work experience, they might ask for more things besides the job reference letter. They may ask for pay slips from the company that employed you. They may also ask for tax clearance to really prove that you worked in that place and you have that experience. Sometimes some people don't have pay slips. What some people do is they could print out their bank statement, their they could print out the bank statement of their salary account, showing every month where payment has been coming in from their employer. Some people are asked to provide pay stubs, tax clearance, and all those things. So all these are things that you may need to provide in addition to the job reference letter. So if you claim that you've worked for more than 3 years, but those maybe 2 of those years was in one company and 1 year was in another company, you need to provide job reference letters from the two companies. As long as you are claiming work experience for a particular number of years, you must provide all the necessary documents from those employers to prove that indeed you worked there under that particular job, title, under that NOC code. I hope this is making sense, right? Good. Then the next thing you need is your proof of funds. All right, you need proof of funds. As you are coming to settle in Canada, you are expected to have a particular amount of money that you will show them that you have it in your bank account. This is not money that you are going to pay to Canada. This is money that you are expected to come with, to settle with when you're coming, because you're not going to come and live under the bridge or come and sleep on the streets. You're going to come with money to rent a house, with money to pay your bills, with money to buy food, for everything. And this amount is dependent on the size of your family. I think every 2 years the amount is revised upwards. So you need to check for proof of funds in Canada. I will try to see if I can put up a screenshot of what the amount looks like for every family size. So if you're a family of one, there's an amount that you need to have minimum. If you're a family of 2, of 3, or 4, or 5, as the case may be. So when we say a family of 4, that could mean husband, wife, and 2 kids, 2 dependent kids, right? So if it's a family of 5, husband, wife, 3 kids. So the larger your family size, the bigger your proof of funds will be. So with your proof of funds, you need to provide your bank statement showing at least 6 months of activity, showing that you've had that money or more of it, not less, for at least 6 months. Okay, so this is not money that they expect you to borrow from somebody. This is not money that you are expected to pay back to somebody. This money has to be your own. All right. So, and it needs to be there for at least 6 months. Okay, so your proof of funds will need to be proven by your bank statement when you are applying. Okay, so you need proof of funds. Like I said, I'm going to post something there so you can look at it. Then of course, other things like if you have a sibling, you need to show proof of the relationship with something like a birth certificate, both of yourself, of the sibling, and proof of the sibling's status in Canada. Remember that your sibling has to either be a citizen or a permanent resident in Canada. So you have to prove that they are actually these things for you to get those points. The bottom line is, for every section of the express entry profile, be it age, education, work experience, proof of funds, language skills, sibling relationships, all these things that you are putting there, there will need to be a document to back it up. All right, there needs to be what? A document to back it up. So for every point you are claiming that you have to show that you have the document to back it up. So when you have gathered all your documents, so again, if you're claiming that you are married, of course you will need your marriage certificate and all those things, government approved marriage certificate, not necessarily the one given by your church. If the one given by your church, if your church is licensed by the government of your country, I'm from Nigeria, so if your church is licensed by the government of Nigeria, for example, then your marriage certificate will have the Nigerian coat of arms on it, not the one that your church just gave you from their own. No, the proper one from the government. If you did a court wedding, the one you got from the courts. Okay, I know there are a few churches that have been licensed by the government to wed, and they can give official, officially recognized marriage certificates. So if you attend this kind of church, I think the Catholic Church does that, and a few other churches. But to be safe, it's usually the one that you get when you did your court wedding. So when you have gathered all your documents, these things could take time, months, even up to a year or more. If you need to prepare to learn a language like French and all that, it will take time. So it's not something that you just wake up in the morning and in 2 weeks time you've done everything. No, you will gather all these things. Even your proof of funds would have to sit in your account for 6 months. So these things are time consuming. So you need to prepare and plan. Then when you've done all these things, when you now know what your CRS score is and whether you qualify for any of the draws that have been done recently, you would know, you would be going on the website, on the IRC website, to be checking for draws. You need to be checking for these draws to check, okay, these draws that are going on, what are the scores? Have I reached a score that could give me an invitation to apply? Okay, so with my score, could I be invited? So when you've done all that and you are seeing that you could be invited because your score is up to what they've been doing in recent times, then you can go ahead and create your express entry profile. So you go to the IRCC express entry portal, create an online account, enter your details, upload your test results, your ECA report numbers, because when West does that report for you, they will send the result to IRCC. They will also give you a copy of the result with your ECA report number. You do all these things and create your express entry profile. So when you created your express entry profile, all you need to do now is wait. So IRCC conducts express entry draws roughly every 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, they conduct different type of draws. Maybe I'll do a different video that explains the different type of draws so that you can understand how that works. Okay, so if your CRS score meets the cutoff score for that particular draw, you will get an invitation to apply. That is an ITA via your IRCC or via your express entry account. Okay, then once you get an invitation to apply, you have 60 days to submit your full electronic permanent residency application. So you now have to upload all required documents. Okay, you now have to upload your medical results, your police certificates, proof of funds, that is your bank statements, employment reference letter, your passport, all your documents. You now pay your processing fee. There's an application fee for express entry. All right, you now have to pay that one. This is not your proof of funds. So this application fee, I think I will look for the amount. I cannot remember it, of heart now. So you need to pay that, and then it will now take step by step. They could now invite you. It's not all uhuru yet that you have been given an IT. It doesn't mean you have your permanent residency. You just apply. They will now go through your documents and confirm if indeed the things you are claiming points from, you are actually able to prove them with the right documents, genuine documents, no fakes. Okay, then when you've done all this, they will request for your biometrics. So you need to go to the center. If you live in Nigeria, if you're from Nigeria, there's only two places, I think, in Abuja and in Lagos. So you need to travel to these places to actually do your biometrics. Even the medicals is only done in Abuja and in Lagos in specially designated hospitals. You cannot just do it anywhere. They have their lists, all right? So you have to travel if you don't live in these places already. So you have to travel with your family, if you're going as a family, all right? You have to travel, and everybody needs to go there, your wife, your kids, or your husband, your kids, and everybody. So when you have applied, they will now verify your work history, your education, and your background. Then you can track your application online on that your account, right? This usually takes, it could take up to, they said for FSW, that is for federal skilled worker, usually a maximum of about 6 months. Some people own takes longer than that. Okay, so again, you have to wait. You don't have a choice. You have to wait. If they need more information, they would ask you. If they need more things or more documents, they will ask for it, and you send. Okay, if you are approved, hey, when they make a final decision and you are now approved, right, you will now be requested to send in your passports. This is, that time when all the months or years of hard work has finally paid off, and you're now being asked to send in your passports as a family. You have to mail your passport to them, or you go to the visa center where you did your biometrics, and you can also submit them by hand. That is your passport, and if you're going as a family, everyone's passport, wives, kids, everyone that was part of the PR application. All right, then when they have stamped your passport, they will now send you your COPR, that is your confirmation of permanent residence. Okay, so they would return it with your passports, and your passports would have the visas, your entry visas. Okay, and these are the visas that you're going to use to travel and land in Canada. And those visas, they have an expiry date. Usually it expires exactly 1 year after you did your medicals. It will be there on the visa. You would see it. So whatever you're doing, you and your family need to plan to land in Canada before the expiry of those entry visas. You can only use them once, so you need to travel with your COPR, everything, and yeah, you land in Canada. It is until you land and they stamp your COPRs and everything that you are now officially permanent residents in Canada. And thereafter you now get your PR cards, your permanent resident cards. Okay, so you must travel to Canada to complete your landing process at the airport or at the border. I think that's it. I've gone through the steps. Check for your eligibility, get your ECA, get your credentials assessed through WES, get your language results ready, get your proof of funds, get your work experience, everything set, and everything, your marriage certificates, if you have a sibling, proof of your relationship with your sibling, and all these documents. They are quite easy things, but gathering them, like those language tests and all those things, are the ones that take time, the proof of funds and all that. So you may need to save, you would have to save up, because it's quite a lot. All right. Bonus tips: don't submit fake or incomplete documents. If you submit any fake document or any information was incorrect, they could penalize you for misrepresentation. Maybe you hide a fact, you did not mention a certain thing. Say, for example, you have applied for a visa to Canada before and they asked you if you have ever been denied visa. Tell them yes. Don't lie. It won't affect you. I was denied a visitor's visa in 2019, but it didn't affect our PRO application. So don't lie. They can trace all these things, right? So if you are caught with or accused of misrepresentation, they could ban you from coming to Canada for 5 years. I think it's even more. I think for 5 years or so. So you don't want to do anything that would affect your chances, right? You must put everything out there genuinely. Okay? So don't submit fake or incomplete documents. Keep your language and ECA valid. Remember, I said that the language tests, they are valid for about 2 years and ECA is valid for about 5 years. So keep checking IRCC updates for the draws. Keep checking as the draws happen. You must be up to you must be knowing what draws are happening, what scores, when am I likely to be to be called and all that. Then if your CRS score is still below the cutoff marks for the draws you're seeing, you need to improve your CRS. If your language score was not the best, you may need to write another exam. You may need to go for additional education. You may need to do French to boost your score. So there are different things like that. So all these are things that we did, and we got the PR. So if you've gained anything from this video, if you enjoyed it, if this provided value for you, I want you to support the channel by liking, subscribing, and clicking on the notification bell, and dropping a comment in the comment section, so that, and asking your questions. If you have any questions and things like that, I can answer them to the best of my ability. And once again, I also stated that I am not a registered Canadian immigration consultant, so all this I'm saying are from publicly available information on the internet, on the IRCC website. There is nothing that I've said here that is not on the IRCC website. So thank you once again for going with me. I know this is a pretty long video, but I hope it was interesting, and I'm rooting for you. As many that are desiring to become permanent residents in Canada, if you follow the process and do what is necessary, God willing, you will become permanent residents, and maybe we could just see ourselves one day in Canada. Thank you once again, and see you on the next one.